Welcome back to Legends with Derka, where the IJN have a new premium battleship at Tier 5, the Hyuga. Armed with 12 guns and a pagoda mast that would make Fuso jealous, Hyuga offers to bring a little variety to the tier. Now, Tier 5 has some very competitive battleships already, such as the Warspite and the West Virginia, so is there really going to be a place in our hearts for this new Japanese battleship? Stick around, let's find out. Alright, you know the drill. We are going to look at our build for the ship first, compare her stats to other battleships of the tier, finish with some gameplay tips before finally giving my opinion on whether or not you should spend your hard-earned money on this ship, and you can completely ignore that if you want. It's going to be at the end. But first, let's take a quick peek at this game and what is going on here. Sea of Fortune for the third time today. Oh well, I guess it's a fun map. The plan? Head to a flank, albeit cautiously because all I have with me here is this one little cruiser, and if he decides to leave me too, I'll be in a little bit of a pickle. So while we move over to this flank, let's look at the ship setup. I see no reason to use anything other than Aiming Systems Mod 1, and personally I like Prop Mod, but Rudder could actually be a pretty decent idea depending on your playstyle. Me, I like the acceleration, and I find the times that I use steering gears and I don't put Prop Mod on, I actually troll myself when I expect that fast acceleration and I don't get it. So use whatever you're comfortable with. My captain, Azurlane Fuso. Purely because she is a higher level than Takagi, and leveling commanders is very difficult in this game. So probably use Takagi. Inspirations include Cunningham and Juajard. Andrew is pretty self-explanatory, and Juajard is here to round out the team because these are 356mm guns, or 14 inches at a tier, where really 380s are the gold standard, so we want to squeeze out a little more penetration from these shells. Again, free build, Takagi, accuracy, that would be my suggestion, but I suppose you could attempt a brawling build with Kondo. His base trait to cut concealment is actually pretty useful, and I am eager to test out some concealment battleships now that more battleships are going to be getting the concealment modules at tiers 6 and 7. Alright, so this is just a Fuso, right? No, not at all, not at all. Historically, I think it is an ISE class battleship, so it's not even the same class of battleship, and the statistics and the way it plays really are a lot different, so let's jump on into that. HP wise, she is the best tier 5 battleship that I have with 60,700 health points. Torpedo protection, not bad to boot, 34% is among the best. Heals, they're good for 8,700 apiece, and that puts it in second place for the best heal at the tier behind the Warspite. Armor scheme has its ups and downs, starting with a 26mm bow. That's great, I'll explain why here in a minute. Superstructure is large and farmable. 32mm deck is not bad. Just pull up armor schemes for Arizona, New Mexico, and Mutsu. You'll see what I mean. And the Citadel is at the waterline. It looks like a bit of a Rubik's Cube. If you would like a deep dive on the Citadel armor scheme for this ship, you'll have to go find a CC that's a little nerdier than me because good grief. 12 guns. They are 356s. This is just like the Fuso, although if you look closely, the gun setup on the deck is just a little bit different. Now, 356s at tier 5 could be a little rougher. Like I mentioned earlier, some of the battleships are getting 380s at this tier, Warspite, Queen E, Bayern, not to mention the 16-inch guns found on Mutsu and West Virginia. So 356s, does it matter? Yes. They cannot overmatch 25mm of armor, and a lot of ships at the tier have that armor scheme, including most of the battleships at the tier, so the bigger 380s are going to have a huge advantage of this in this regard, being able to punch through 25mm of armor. So knowing your armor schemes with a ship like this and where to shoot could actually be pretty useful. I will say though, these guns perform rather well, and with a sigma of 1.8, they're quite comfortable. Fuso's for comparison is 1.5. And as we all know, playing Fuso sometimes is like trying to shoot a weather balloon with a Mossberg 500. The Hyuga accuracy is actually quite nice. Turret traverse speed, 34 seconds, I believe, on my build. Not bad at all. The HE shells, they hit hard, they have good alpha damage in typical IJN fashion, but the fire chance is a little lackluster. That's okay though, you should really be shooting AP most of the time. Anyways, as you know, most red team ships have the indicator turned on. Well, they will know exactly when you load HE so that they can show their broadside to you. Now, all of these guns and the decent reload with them are going to give you some pretty solid damage output. About tied with the California for an AP damage of 253k. That comes in just behind the Normandy in first place at 262k. AA rating, 47, that's pretty bad, but again, it could be worse. The Normandy is at the bottom of the tier there, 47 is pretty low. Speed, really just average 25.3 on my build. Now, tier 5, again, is when some of the battleships are really getting some long legs. You have the Dunkirk cruising around at almost 30 knots, Ismail Normandy also being very quick, so this speed is just average, but I'll tell you right now, it is blazing fast compared to the American standards at the same tier. New Mexico, Arizona, West Virginia, California, Tennessee are all around 20 knots. So again, Hyuga, quite comfortable. Turning circle, kind of large, 750, and the rudder shift is 15.8. This means, I guess if we're looking at the glass being half full, that you probably won't be out turning your turrets a whole lot, but she's not that nimble. Concealment is decent at 13.8, which I really don't understand because you could see this pagoda mast from the International Space Station. But balance. So yes, 13.8, pretty good. Okay, back to the action real quick. Let's see how this game is developing. So we have a little bit of a ship lead, but not a lot. I could see that switching really quickly, especially since my Nuremberg is dangerously close to that Soviet battleship right there. I hope he gets the YOLO off, but I have my doubts. It looks like the Russian battleship kind of knows what he's doing. We do have a good points lead, and there you go. There's the ship lead changing. The points, looking pretty good. I was kind of faced with a conundrum. I really wanted to push into B, but now I am glad I didn't. The Ismail could have flanked me. I would have been very close to a Mutsu and could have been focused by the other ships over there, including the carrier. So staying on this flank was just fine, especially considering we have A and C. We just need to play smarter, not harder. And yeah, really at this point with our cap lead, I just need to stay alive, and that's where Hyuga is she comes into her element in this position that I'm playing right now, kind of kiting away. So, you might have noticed in the loadout, Hyuga comes with a win button. She gets not one, but two main battery reload boosters, and boy, these can come in handy. It cuts reload in half and allows you to take another quick snapshot at a broadside enemy or offer some unique strategies such as fire spamming. I did demonstrate that a little bit earlier, although it wasn't perfect how I did it. But setting an enemy on fire that quickly damage cons it, using the reload booster, and then getting another permanent fire is a great strategy with this ship. Again, you have pretty good heals with this ship in your loadout. They are the second best as I had it figured. And we are running a spotter plane, although I would probably actually switch over to a catapult fighter for a little better extra AA defense or as a deterrent for the pesky CVs. As you have undoubtedly noticed in this game, we did get focused a little bit by the Ranger, and he's not done with us yet. Now, personally, this is not a ship that you want to just sit in and bow tank. No, the forward firing angles, they're not much worse than the rear firing angles, but pointing your aft at the reds like we are doing right now has a great advantage, and we just showed why. Turret traverse. It is really easy to swing your guns from the starboard to the port side of your ship when you are kiting away. And this can keep the majority of your firepower where it needs to be, and it's really only going to be the front two turrets that take 34 seconds to come around and be useful again. I like to move into a good position and then be prepared to kite away from the enemy ships and use the prop mod to make enemies miss their shells, their long range shots, and so on and so forth. Rinse, repeat. If you get too far away, just sail back in. But again, in this instance, we just needed to keep sailing away, stay alive, win on points. I don't really see this being a brawling battleship, although I am curious if, someone comes up with a build for that and succeeds with it, let me know. But really, truly, I think she's great at playing from longer to medium ranges, and the accuracy is probably going to surprise you. It's pretty good. In fact, I think I enjoyed the accuracy and the gun performance of this ship at tier 5 far more than the most recent battleship I've been playing, the Flander. So this brings me to my overall opinion. I think this is a solid battleship. Is it better than the California or the Warspite? Well, maybe I wouldn't go that far, but it is unique enough to be fun. Let me preface that by saying I kind of have an affinity for the Fuso. For the first year or so of this game, it was my most played ship. Now, that could possibly be because I could never get enough silver to move up towards the Nagato, but hey, something about the Fuso just attracted me. A lot of fun to play. I do think the Warspite is probably still better with its laser-accurate 380mm guns at 2.0 Sigma, and of course there's the California, the chunkiest, the thickest of them all with her AA rating of 1 million, but this is a solid tier 5 battleship and is very enjoyable to play. I like that she has just good enough speed to not be boring or frustrating like the American standards are to me. I love having tons of guns. I mean, hey, I'm American. And who doesn't want a battleship that has a main battery reload booster? I could see myself never playing the Fuso again with a ship like this in my port. It really feels better in most every way, and really the accuracy is not near as trolly. You don't get those shotgun blasts that we are used to in Fuso, 1 out of every 4 salvos or something like that. It's a battleship that is really not that difficult to pick up. If you're not a great battleship player, I think you could still do decent in this, but it has some potential for some devastating games if you know what you're doing. Again, look back at the DPM numbers. They are pretty saucy. Overall, I would be curious what you guys think of the Hyuga, and if you'll be copying or dropping, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, smash that thumbs up button, share this video with some other pagoda lovers. Now on that note, this game is wrapping up and I have a date with a ranger. I want my revenge. So I'm going to move over this way, and judging by where his planes are coming from on the map, eventually I will run into him. There is an enemy Duca d'Asta also still out there, but since the Reds never took C from us, and I guess at the very beginning of the game, our destroyer or whoever capturing C made all the difference and racked up a lot of points for us. Now the AA, again, like I pointed out earlier, you'll notice it's not that great. This guy is getting 3 drops on me, and I know it's a Ranger. They got pretty tanky airplanes, but the catapult fighter, I would be a proponent of that. I think you should put that on there, equip it, and it will help you kind of deter these guys, maybe shoot down a couple of planes. I probably could have got a clear skies if I was using the catapult fighter rather than the spotter plane. I can't truly say that I've ever noticed a difference with spotter planes, that I just got the most amazing salvo ever because it was in the air. I know technically that is exactly what it's supposed to do, but I don't know. Perhaps that's just me. And there's Mr. Ranger. Now, to be honest, I didn't know the armor scheme of the Ranger, so I was curious if at this angle he could bounce these 356s, but apparently our penetration was good enough for that. I don't know if that's Juajard coming in there, but that was a pretty tasty salvo, 26,000 damage. And unfortunately, though, with his concealment, I believe he is going to live to live. The game's pretty much over, but he will have the satisfaction of not getting killed by me. We have just enough time for another pot shot at the Ranger, but it's pretty much going to wrap up this game with about 125k or so. So guys, I appreciate the continued support. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you never miss another video, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.